Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Yiddish Masi Mimeros Yeruspas Mordechai. Zok the Heilige Gemara. Not Simon, Rav Nachman. So yesterday, we're just going to finish off the sugya. Yesterday, we were learning about the riddle. The riddle. How do you get a guy to be chayiv 3 karbonos chatos on one maisa, one action? The answer is, if he does one shchita, and it happens to be Shabbos, and he happens to be thinking about Avodah Zarah, and it happens to be outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So he shechs the chatos outside of the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos and Avodah Zarah, so you get 3. Rav Huna, this is Rav Huna's chap. He says, because he holds that a person can make another person's animal Avodah Zarah. Adam oiser davar she'ena shalai. And that's how it happens. Now, we have the other side, the other shita. Rav Nachman, Rav Amro, Rav Yitzchak, 3 Amoraim, Amri, they all say, Ein Adam oiser davar she'ena shalai. Person cannot answer something that's not his. Says the Gemara Meisvei. Hashoichet chatas b'Shabbos b'chutz la'avodah zarah chayiv shalosh chatois. We ask a question: how could you say that a person cannot ruin it for somebody else? He can't take somebody else's animal and make it avodah zarah. But how do we do? What do we do with the riddle that we had yesterday? If he shechs a chatos on Shabbos outside of the Beis Hamikdash b'chutz la'avodah zarah for avodah zarah chayiv shalosh chatois v'oik minon. And we had a stat. We said that the pshat is b'chatas ha'oif u'b'chatzi kana pagum. We said it must be only this case where the bird already had a punctured trachea. His trachea was 50% cut, and he went ahead with a knife and did 51%. So that 51% created 3 things simultaneously. It created the shchita, haitzas hanefesh on Shabbos. It was outside of the Beis Hamikdash the shchita. And it was Avodah Zarah. It wasn't Avodah Zarah before the shchita, and it wasn't shchita before. It all happened simultaneously because it was that one small amount. So the Gemara is medayik taima dechadas soifu. That's only because he did it this way with a bird. The kula b'hati adol guys because it all happened simultaneously. Abel zavach loy. But when it comes to a large animal, there's no way to do it. This trick only happens by a chatas ha'oif, which you only have to cut 1 siman out of the 2 to begin with, and I have a way to do 50%, which is nothing. 51% is everything. So I get that little small amount, in one shot, boom. But when it comes to a large animal, not. Why not? Why not? Ask the Gemara. If you cannot make somebody else's animal avodah zarah, so then by nicking it, that was the little tricky part that we had yesterday. There's a difference between if it's yours, if it's somebody else's. There's a difference between doing a small amount and a full amount. If you don't have the right and the ability to make somebody else's animal avodah zarah, so then by you starting off the shechita, you didn't do anything. You didn't make it avodah zarah. It's not avodah zarah. It's not yours. You can't make it avodah zarah. When did you make it avodah zarah in this case, Rabbi Isai? You never made it avodah. You will never make it avodah zarah. But when is it avodah zarah? When does it become an avodah zarah? Where you chayiv misa? At the end of the shechita. All the way at the end. You chayiv misa. Even if you didn't make it avodah zarah, you chayiv misa. You chayiv misa for bowing to something. He did a ma'asav avodah zarah. Even if it didn't become, you were oived avodah zarah without creating, you didn't make this animal avodah zarah. It's not avodah zarah. You are an avodah zarah nick. And for that you chayiv misa. But when did that happen? Not when you nick it with a knife, but when you do the full shechita. So at the full shechita, I did everything simultaneously. I was over on Shabbos, I was over on Shechit Dechutz, I was over on Avodah Zarah, all the way at the end. So why are you telling me it's only by a bird? According to you, I have a way to do all 3 with an animal. Says the Gemara, no, it doesn't work by a chatas behema. Why? Since you acquired this animal as a chatas, so now it becomes yours. So now everything that you've done here, even in a small amount, boom, yours is kol shu. It's only when it's somebody else's, then it's the full amount. So it comes out a very interesting thing here, that if you hold that you cannot aser somebody else's animal, so then the chatas is yours. Yesterday we said the opposite. The chatas is not yours because it's a kapara. Now we have to say the chatas is yours, and memeli you aser it immediately. And if you hold eldam oiser davar shein shaloi, so you have to say the chatas is not yours, and that you aser it all the way at the end. Says Gemara Tashma. So this is a case that we had yesterday. Shnayim moigzim betalos. I know. Shnayim moigzim besakin. V'shoichadin. Two people holding onto a knife and shechting. So one person has a mind for the mountain. I got to show you this video. You have two people doing the same job, doing a shechita with a knife. One of them has kavanah for avodah zarah, one for not. One is thinking about the harim ugvois, davar kosher, and the other one is thinking regular shechita. Shechita sai psula, it's possible. So you see that a person could aser something that's not his. You're telling me these three Amoraim say you can't aser something that's not yours. Over here you see the guy holding the knife. This guy, where is he? Right over here. He's doing something, he's ruining it, somebody else's animal. Says Gemara, no, it's not somebody else's animal. He's part owner. Toshma, hametame, vamedameya, vamenasich. Three things that you can't really see. You take somebody else's fruit and you make it tame. You take somebody else's fruit and you put truma into the fruit. You mix it up with truma. Now you have to sell it for something very cheap. The real question is from the third one. Vamenasich. You take somebody else's wine and you make it yayin esach. B'shoygi potter b'meizir chayav. If you do it by mistake, this is a hezek sheini nicker. It's a hezek you can't see by looking at the wine. You can't see whether the wine is yayin esach, not yayin esach. But if you do it deliberately, it's a knas. We'll give you a knas, even though it's a hezek sheini nicker. We say you're chayav. Says the Gemara, how could a guy take wine and make it avodah zarah when it's not his wine? You said that you can't ask for something that's not yours, according to that man Omar. Says Gemara, Chanami de'isli shutfus b'gavo. He does have a shutfus. He does have a partnership in it. Hachanami de'isli shutfus b'gavo, says the Gemara. Oh, Nochamal, same teretz. We have a few the Gemaras today, the repetitive. We're talking about a guy that has a partnership in this wine. No, so why is he doing it? If he has a partnership, why is he ruining it? Because he's like in the plishtim, like Thomas Nafshim plishtim. Ketanoi says the Gemara. In fact, it's a machlokes tanoi. Oy v'kechavim shenisich yeina shel Yisrael shloi b'fnei avodah zarah. Asarai, a guy that was menasech the wine of a Jew, not in front of avodah zarah. So there's two chidushim here. It's not in front of avodah zarah. Asarai. What do you see? I could ask her something that's not mine, even though the avodah zarah is not even there. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meir, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba matir noisoi mipnei shnei dvarim. They have two reasons. The famous Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Two reasons why it doesn't work. First of all, it's not in front of avodah zarah. So what are you doing yayin esach? They hold like today's wine in our house that there's no avodah zarah. The cleaning lady can't be menasach. And second of all, the cleaning lady doesn't have a right to make somebody else's wine yayin esach. So here we have the machlokes. Do you have the right to make somebody else's product also or not? And the three of them that we had in the beginning of the sugya. Even if you hold you could ruin somebody else's product. Hanimili kusi. Avi Yisrael litzaurei komechaven. That's dafka Eina Yehudi, but a Jew chas v'shalom. You think he's gonna shnayim mogzim b'sakim v'shoichatin. Now we're going back to the stories that we had before. Nothing new. Two people holding on to one knife. One is thinking about avodah zarah. One is thinking about a regular shchita. Shchita psula. What do you see over here? That no. Now we're trying another angle. Does a Jew do something just to cause somebody pain, or he's being serious about the avodah zarah? Over here you see that he's being serious about avodah zarah. Another Jew is holding onto the knife and he's making it avodah zarah. You don't say litzuri komechaven. He's being real. Says Gemara, you can't bring a raya from this case. When you're talking about a guy that went off, then of course he's thinking about avodah zarah. You're right. Look, in the picture you could even see the guy's mamash a mummer. Look, mamash doesn't even have a kapel on. So this guy, he might be Jewish, but he's mechavim for avodah zarah. Says Gemara. Toshma, another ayah. Hamatam, the same case that we had before. How could a person make somebody else's yain nesach? Also, he's just trying to bother him and chepa him. He's a chepener. No, he's not chepening. He's the real deal. He's a mummer. A mummer means avodah zarah. Question: if you have a Jew, he's about to do avodah zarah with his friend's animal. They come and they tell him, "Listen, if you do this, you're going to get misa. In order to give a guy misa, you have to do asra in front of the two edim. You have to warn him." And he says, "Bring it on. I don't care. I want to do this. I want to do avodah zarah." So in this case, do we say that he's being a chepener, or is he trying to bother somebody? He's being real. So he says, of course he's being real. A person that doesn't care to die, after they warn him you're going to die, we're going to take you to Bezin, we're going to kill you? Not a misa v'dei shamayim, a real misa. You don't have a greater mummer than a guy that's mafkir his life for avodah zarah. You cannot do a shchita into the ocean. Can't do a shchita into the ocean because it looks like avodah zarah. And not into the rivers. Anybody that was there on that day that we did the shchita knows that we took the sheep and we shechted it into a giant vat of some sort of metal thing that they mix concrete. That's what they shechted. No, so how were they able to do it? How are they able to do it?
It's not like the clothes.
Oh, because they put a bunch of clothes on the bottom. The whole point is you're not allowed to gather the blood in a vessel because then you're going to take that blood and bring it to avodah zarah. But if you put dirt on the bottom, you put water on the bottom, it's not a problem. You're allowed to shecht into a puddle of water because that ruins the blood and it's not an ocean. If you're on a cruise ship, we're on the way to MDYCM on a cruise ship, and a guy brings out his sheep. Hillel brings his sheep, says, "Let's go. We got to shecht the sheep." You have a problem. One way to do it is take the sheep overboard, shecht it, and the blood goes into the ocean. The problem is you're not allowed to shecht into the ocean. So what do? What, to shecht on the beautiful cruise ship? The pool of the ship. Exactly. What are you going to do? So here are two eitzes. You see this is not bad. Also very interesting. It depends on the day. Yeah, Shari B'Svino. Here we go. I can tell who did this just by the music in the background. This is Nachman, a guy by the name of Nachman.
Okay, everyone, listen up, Corey. We're now moving on to activity number 148.
Oh, so if it goes on the wall of the ship, that's okay. That's okay.
And now, for activity number 156.
The English here comes from the Spanish here.
Ooh, a slide?
Okay, so if you do it off a slide, it's okay. Why? Because it didn't go directly into the water. If it goes directly into the ocean, that's a problem. If you go off the wall of the boat, or ubesvina al gabe kelim. What does al gabe kelim mean? If you take I don't want to do this here, or maybe this one. Oh. This is, you're not allowed to shecht into a kli, but if you turn the kli over, and why would he do that? Because this part goes overboard. So you shecht the animal onto the kli, and then the blood runs off into the ocean, and that's fine because it didn't go directly into the ocean. Now listen to this one. You got to pay attention to this one. Ein shoichatin leguma kol ikar. It's a very strong lashon. You're not allowed to shecht into a hole in the ground, into a well, into anything. Kol ikar, no way. Aval, but no way. But in your house you're allowed to, except in your house. So it's like don't ever do it, except you could always do it in your house. The Gemara is going to say what's going on here. Ubeshuk leyasakein, but in a marketplace, absolutely not. Shaloi yichaka es hatzdoikim shleichake es aminim. Yichake, Rashi says yichake in Hebrew, in modern day Hebrew, yichake means to imitate, Rashi says it's more of a lashon of chayk, of a rule, like don't make it stronger. Don't make the minim strong. You're not allowed to shecht into the river, into the ocean. How come you're not allowed to shecht into ocean? Because he's saying I'm shechting to the malach of the ocean. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. Into a puddle, you should also not be able to. Why? You're worshiping your own reflection. So what does the Gemara say? Amarava ba'churim shanu. We're talking about muddied water, murky water. So you can't even see himself in the same. Ain't sheichatim leguma. You're allowed to shecht. The Mishnah says you're never allowed to shecht into a hole, but you're allowed to do it in your house. As the Gemara of Amris in sheichatim leguma klal, you start off saying you can never kolikar, and all of a sudden there's a yotzim in a klal. Lama baya reisha beguma shabashuk. If it's in the marketplace, so think about it for a second, and I thought about it because I had a similar maisa. Me and Benny had a maisa yesterday. This got me thinking. The shuk, what does it mean? Why is it also? Because in the marketplace, think in the days of the Gemara, was there asphalt? No. Was there cement? No. So what's a marketplace? It's dirt, and all the people's cows, chickens, horses, everything is all over the place. Then comes a nice rain, and it becomes muddy, and it's just a disaster. So I don't want it in my backyard. I made a special pit for it. Says the Gemara, but that can't be. Because if you look at the Lashon in the Mishnah, right 2 lines later, it says, Amalei Rava, v'melitani seifa ubeshuk liyasakein. B'chlal dereisha labeshuk. You're telling me that we're talking about a marketplace. So then why would it say a minute later, and oh, by the way, in a marketplace, don't do it. You already said don't do it in the beginning. You shouldn't shecht into a pit. But a person who does want to clean out his yard, he wants to make sure it's clean. He makes a place away from the pit. Here we have a good description of this. Right over here, this is just for learning purposes. Here's that place on the left, he'll shecht, and he'll go into the pit. But in a marketplace, you should never do it, even if you're shechting on the left and it runs into the pit on the right. It's also the do that's already giving strength to the minim. The Rava, we learn just like Rava. He's on a cruise ship and he doesn't have a place to shecht. He could stick his hand, extend his hand above board, overboard, and shecht. One way to do it is that the blood goes on the walls of the ship, and that's okay. And you should not shecht into a pit. This is like Rava, that if a person wants to keep his yard clean, he makes a place on the left where he shechts, and then the blood just flows down into the pit on the right. But even that you're not permitted to do in the marketplace. People might think that you're doing their chayk, their rules, and if you do so, you must check his yichus to see what he is. He might be a tzduki, his yain might be yain esech, his pas might be pas tzduki. We have 9 minutes, Baruch Hashem. But it's all easy here. A person takes a regular Chullin animal and he says, I'm shechting this in his backyard for an oila. L'shem zvachim, for shlamim, it even says on the side of the Gemara the word shlamim instead of zvachim. L'shem mashim tali. These are all nidavas, nidarim, something you could do willingly. The Gemara is going to talk about Ashim Tali, how's that a neder? L'shem Pesach, L'shem Toida, for Korban Pesach, in middle, during Chanukah, he's shechting the cover, it's Pesach, L'shem Toida, something good happened to him, Shchitasi Psula, it looks like you're shechting Kachim outside the Beis HaMikdash. For B'Shem Makshir, it's not a problem. Everybody knows that you're lying, it's impossible. Now we have the same cases before, but now they're thinking something else. Before they were thinking about L'shem Harim, L'shem Naharis. Now they're thinking about this problem. One is thinking that it's a Oila, it's a Korban Pesach. And the other one is shechting for regular Shchita Zipsula, it's not a good shechita. One can ruin it for the other. Hashoichet l'shem chatas. But there's another category of animals that's not a neder v'nedava. It is a chiyuv. A person did an avera by mistake, has to bring a chatas. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. L'shem Hashem Vadai, let's say he stole, Hashem Gzeilos, he lied, he swore falsely, Hashem Charufa, whatever the Hashem Vadai is. L'shem Bachar, for the firstborn, you have to give the firstborn to the Kohen. L'shem Meiser, every 10 he has to give to bring to Yerushalayim. L'shem Tmura, we know what Tmura is. Tmura is that if he has another animal, he says this is instead of that. That's also Doiraisa, Midoraisa. Shchitasik Sheira. Why? It's Peladik, we'll see a Rashi later on. Everybody knows that he's not chayiv a chatos. They know he's lying. He's not shechting outside the Beis Hamikdash. Zaklal kol davar shenidar v'nidav, anything that comes voluntarily. Hashek l'shmoy asur, if you shecht for that thing, for that oila, for that Korban Pesach, it's asur. V'shein nidar v'nidav hashek l'shmoy kosher. And if it's something that doesn't come voluntarily, like a chatos, like a asham, then if you do it for that, everybody knows you're lying, so it's kosher. Why would a asham be in the category of something that you give voluntarily? What's a asham tali? Asham tali is if somebody did an avera. If somebody, let's say, his wife gave him 2 pieces of fat, one is chaylev, which is issa deraisa, and one is 100% mutter. 2 fats in the same animal, some parts are mutter, some parts are asur. And later on he found out that one of them was issa deraisa. He thought both of them were mutter. So now he has to bring asham talu. He has to bring just in case that he ate that bad fat, but he doesn't know. So that he shouldn't get an einish. Meanwhile, he brings the asham talu. So could a person bring such an asham talu voluntarily? It happened. He ate, so now he's chayv to bring it. It goes according to Rebbe Lazar. It says you're permitted to bring one of these. A person is over averis every day. He can bring asham talu every day. In fact, we learned once. I think it was Rebbe Lazar himself. They used to bring every single day. Pesach b'nidav v'nidavu, a Korban Pesach is something that you bring whenever you feel like it. Zim nekvi, you only bring it erev Pesach. Because you could put it on the side all year long for Pesach. There's only when the animal has no mum. If the animal has a great mum, made the idea, everybody realizes the guy is lying, so it's not a problem that if people think that he's shechting outside the Beis Hamikdash. Even if it's a balmum, it's a problem. Zimnin the Ramilei, sometimes the Ramilei midei mum, sometimes they put something on top of the mum, they cover it. In other words, not every time do you know that there's a mum. Hashoich l'shem chatos. If a person shechs l'shem chatos, that's okay because everybody knows he's lying. That's because how does everybody know he's lying? Because he's not chayav chatos. But if a person is chayav chatos, then people are going to accuse him of shechting chatos. That's the Beis Hamikdash. How does a person know when a person is chayav chatos or not? So Rashi says over here something very interesting. Chatos labin neder v'in davasi. Chatos like v'hali chashuch rabbanon dilma. Excuse me. The man the chazi sover mechuyev chatosu. Nobody's going to think, oh, this guy is chayav chatos. Why? Listen, I never. The whole call is that everybody knows if a person is chayav chatos. Everybody knows that he came as b'shoigig, something he did something b'shoigig. So, did I read it right? I don't know what I read here. But anyways, the whole kala islay. The whole kala islay. The misha bali yodi dvar avera. Everybody knows. There's a rumor. Everybody knows he did an avera. If you do an avera b'shoigig, everybody knows about it. Why? Because you want to be embarrassed by it, and that's part of the kapara. So he says. So Mela, now all of a sudden you bring a chatas when you didn't even do an avera. People are going to say, "Oh, you're lying." Says Gemara. We're going to have this question 3 times, same exact answer 3 times. He didn't say chatasi, so he just said chatas. And chatas seems like a nedava on a chatas. He did say the shem chatasi. It's not a nedava, it's a chiyuv. A chatasi that I'm chayiv. The shem tmura. Omar Rebbe Lazar, maybe all for the new people, as I'm saying it. I'll just keep on going. Lower the volume maybe completely. Tmura means I'm bringing a carbon instead of another carbon I said designated on the side. That's because I don't have another one. If I already designated this oil, this little oil, and I found a much larger one, maybe he is really doing a tmura. It seems like he's he's bringing a dava. He's not bringing for the one that he has in his house. You're right. He does. Let's just change lashon a little bit. He did say those words. It says if you bring it as a neder and a dava, then it's also. Zaklal always adds one more element, at least one. A nazar, a person who said he's going to grow his hair, he's not going to drink wine, he's not going to be in the time of the maze, so he has to bring oilo when he's done. The same holy nadar. Everybody knows he's not a nazar. Look, his hair, he has a beautiful haircut. Maybe he did it in hiding in his house, and really no one knows about it. He just started yesterday. When a Yelez brings an oila, it's only because he doesn't have a wife. The Rashi is not goris a lot of this, but we'll just read it. It's in our Gemara, so we'll read it. But if he has a wife, then everybody will say, "Oh, he brought this carbon outside of Beis Hamikdash for his wife, and it's awesome." It seems like it's a voluntary thing. He didn't say it's for my wife. You're right. He has to say it's for my wife. Pshita said, then what's the big chiddush? If she indeed gave birth, everybody knows that this woman had a baby. There's a Shalom Zachar, there's a Kiddush. No, sometimes there's a miscarriage, and they keep it quiet, and for that he's bringing the carbon. Hadran aloch hashoichet, Hadran aloch hashoichet, Hadran aloch hashoichet.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.